What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for October 26, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition of the podcast. Before we get into today's episode, let's do a little quick housekeeping. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont, Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Continue, leave comments, subscribe, like the videos. All of that helps the algorithm out. And then just spread the word. We're continuously, slowly growing. I know we have a few new listeners out there through word of mouth. So I appreciate you. Welcome. But continue to spread the word and let everyone know, because chances are, if you're enjoying this, someone else will as well. And it was brought to my attention yesterday, too. If you follow me on Facebook, when I post the question of the day on Instagram, and you be sure to vote there too. Back to the few, all those places are where you can vote for the question of the day. But it comes up as a story, I guess, on Facebook. If you hit the comment, that's where you can vote and leave your comments and interact. I know a few people have been starting to do that. I guess it's something new with the settings there. So just a heads up that if you are on Facebook and you follow me there and want to be able to participate in the question of the day, I posted on Facebook, but the video does, and a little Instagram short comes over. So all you got to do is hit the comment, and that's where you can comment there. All right. Speaking of the question of the day, yesterday I asked you, are Philly sports bringing you joy currently? 44% of you said yes, they are, which means 55% of you are not receiving any joy from Philly sports. And it's been a brutal stretch for the past 2 years. Like I said yesterday, 2 years ago, we're prepping for the World Series. Eagles are 6-0 on a bye. Union are ready to win the MLS Cup. Things are looking good, and it's just been one gut punch after the other for the past 2 years. But Joe from Drescher did kind of sum it up perfectly. I think he said it was a love-hate relationship. Love watching them. Much like my uncle said, you root for them no matter what, hope for the best, but man, they are irritating sometimes. So thank you to everyone, including Joe from Drescher, who participated in the question of the day. There'll be another one later in the show. Speaking of not bringing any joy, I was super excited we went out to dinner last night. I was excited to come home, watch the Sixers, and what I saw was a complete and total embarrassment. They couldn't shoot. They couldn't rebound. The Raptors, there's no reason to lose to the Raptors in that spot with or without Joe and PG. 115-107. They just could not get over the hump. I did stay to the very end. At one point, they were down almost 20, but battled back, so I guess you could take a positive from there. But as I mentioned so many times, I'm not in the participation moral victory game. I want to win. And that was just a brutal game to watch. They're all struggling to shoot. But I think more disappointing yesterday was just the lack of rebounding. I mean, I don't want to call them out for not hustling, but it was almost as if they were not hustling, trying to get those loose balls. We'll be without PG and Joe again tomorrow as they go to Indiana, who got thumped by the Knicks. So they have a bad taste in their mouth, and tomorrow's game could be ugly based on the way things are playing out. No word yet on when or if Joe and PG will be back, but hopefully we'll get some clarifications and answers on that today. But not a good loss for the Sixers at all. Not that any loss is good. More on that here in a minute. But, man, just a lack of shooting, and I can deal. Like, listen, shooters go on streaks. It's just like hitting in baseball. And I'm fine with struggling to shoot from outside and struggling to get shots. Like, listen, it happens, especially when you're down your two best players. But what I can't excuse, and this is what killed them in the Knicks series in the playoffs, is just the lack of rebounding. Like, it's just, I don't know. And, I mean, I grew up with Dennis Rodman got like every rebound, and he was not the biggest guy on the court. Guys like Charles Barkley getting rebounds, but battling in there. But, man, this team just could not rebound yesterday. Hopefully they can come back and get out of their slump tomorrow, though, in Indiana. Flyers will be in action this afternoon against Minnesota. It's time to bounce back for them. I mean, give the home crowd something to cheer about. They've been booed every game so far at home this year. Rightfully so. I mean, no I don't think there's a reason to cheer them right now. Mishkov is doing okay, but I get that they're a young team, but how about we come out and play with that energy that they had in the second half and second and third period the other night against Washington. But Flyers wild today at 1 down at the Wells Fargo Center. All right, Eagles news. And I don't even know how to begin to address this because I did see some of the comments on Twitter ripping this, but there was a lot of talk yesterday about Elliott Shore Park saying that this would be an acceptable loss for the Eagles if they lose. What? To me, if that is not the softest, most millennial bullshit that I've ever heard, I'm not worried. I just mentioned it. I'm not worried about participation trophies. That is the most asinine comment I ever heard. Am I going to be, you go into certain games and sure, you might not expect them to win, but to call it an acceptable loss, as long as they play well. No, that is dumb. That is just backwards thinking. And again, is this because as a fan base, some of us have become soft since we won the Super Bowl? I don't know, but that is just absolutely ridiculous thinking. And luckily, whatever poll that WIP put up, it was 70-80% saying that no, it would not be an acceptable loss. And like I said, I don't care if they were playing the Chiefs. No, that's not an acceptable loss. You need to win as many games as you can in the NFL because a lot of times those tiebreakers come down to a game or two. So I don't understand the rationale behind it. You go into certain games not expecting to win. I think that's fine, but I don't think it's acceptable. I mean, the only time a loss would be acceptable would be, I guess, during the process era of the Sixers when you were trying to tank for first picks, but not for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations or at least came into the season with Super Bowl aspirations. To say any loss at this point with this team, with all of the crap that the head coach has gotten, with all of the crap that the quarterback has gotten, and all that we've been through for the past 2 years, to say any loss is acceptable is unacceptable. And it's the most ridiculous BS I've ever heard in my life. And I was glad that the comment got ripped and pretty much 70 or 80% on that poll on Twitter agreed. But man, if you want to weigh in on that on the Back to the Future voice and text line, it's 267-495-8531. Maybe I'm too old school at this point. I don't know. But that is the most, hey, we tried hard and give me a participation trophy type shit I've ever heard. And no, I'm not in that business, especially with this team. If it was this, the Eagles were an up-and-coming team, I could even almost justify saying that, sure, play well against a better team and show that you're there. Like the Eagles back in 2000 when it was Donovan's first year as the starter, and they played a lot of tough games, close games, and really started to win and come into their own. But to say that this Eagles team, the way they're made up after what we've been through for 2 years, that a loss would be acceptable in Cincinnati, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe I'm missing the point. Maybe I'm turning into the old man yelling at the cloud. I don't know. I feel like that happens to people as they get older, and a lot of times you don't realize. So if I'm doing that, let me know. But to say any loss is acceptable is absolutely just insane to me. Some injury news. Mekhi Becton doesn't look like he's going to be cleared to play. Obviously, Dallas Goedert is out. For the Bengals, T. Higgins hurt his quad yesterday in practice. He's listed as questionable. If I had to guess, I bet you he will play in this game. They finally announced the uniform combinations. I know we've been waiting all week for the uniform combination, and they're wearing the green on white green jerseys, white pants, typical normal Eagles uniforms. So hopefully the uniforms will bring some good luck out in Cincinnati. But that does lead us to today's question of the day. And I might be tipping my hand a little bit with what the keys to the game is going to be tomorrow. But who needs to play better tomorrow? Jalen Hurts or the Eagles defense? Let me know your thoughts. I think both of these guys are going to be key to this game. So who needs to, both of these guys, Jalen and the defense are both going to be key to this game. But which one is more critical, the defense or Jalen actually coming out and having a decent passing game? Let me know your thoughts. 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. You can also vote on any of the social media. I mentioned how to do it on Facebook. If you're listening on Spotify, there's a button right there on the app you can vote. Leave a comment and let me know which is more critical, Jalen Hurts playing better or the defense playing better. 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. And be sure to let me know your thoughts on acceptable losses, because I blows my mind that is even a thought or even on anyone's radar. But let me know your thoughts. All right, today we're going to hop in the Wayback Machine. We're going to go all the way back to 1911. And on this day in 1911, the Philadelphia Athletics beat the New York Giants 13-2 to win their second consecutive World Series championship. Chief Bender was on the mound for the A's that day, pitched a 4-hitter. The A's scored 4 in the fourth and 7 in the seventh to give the home crowd down at Shibe Park their second consecutive World Series championship. The A's were led by Hall of Famers Eddie Collins, Eddie Plank, and Home Run Baker. Chief Bender is also in the Hall of Fame. Connie Mack is a Hall of Famer as well. He put together a stacked team. For the series, Eddie Collins won the MVP, hitting .286. Not sure why Home Run Baker was not the MVP of this series. He hit .375 with 2 homers and 5 RBI. Maybe it was political even with the sports writers back then. The A's pitching, though, was outstanding in this series, held the Giants to a .175 batting average as a team, and that to this day is still the lowest batting average for a team in a 6-game series. They would go on to win the World Series again in 1913, so they took 3 out of 4. And then Connie Mack, to save some money, started selling off his players. The A's went on to some dark times, and then they came back in the late 20s to win a couple more World Series. And to this day, the Philadelphia Athletics, I mentioned this stat a lot, and it still just blows my mind and goes back to yesterday's question of the day with Philly sports bringing us joy. The A's have 5 championships while in Philadelphia, and that is the most of any team in the city of Philadelphia. But on this day back in 1911, the A's beat the Giants 13-2 to win their second consecutive World Series championship. They take a year off in 1912 and win it again in 1913. All right, finally today, our 2024 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame inductee spotlight. Today is Angelo Cataldi, who is the recipient of the Legacy of Excellent Award. And I will give you full disclosure here. I was not a listener to Angelo Cataldi, mostly because when he first came on, I was in middle school or late elementary school. Didn't have a car, so didn't really listen to 610 that much. I was more into listening to Power 99 and Q102 at the time. And then it kind of turned me off with the whole Donovan McNabb booing thing at the draft. I will get there later in the show. But I will say Angelo Cataldi's mark on Philadelphia sports is undeniable, both good and bad, and I think he would be the first to admit that. He started in Philly as a journalist for the Inquirer, was a Pulitzer Prize winner, I believe, while writing for the Inquirer, and then I saw a video short on this right after he retired. He was asked about becoming the morning show host at WIP, and really changed the landscape of sports talk radio. He spent 33 years at WIP on the morning show and brought some entertainment, pop culture, kind of like that Howard Stern. I hesitate to call Angelo a shock jock, but really that kind of style of radio while still being able to talk sports. He had his, and it's really, like I said, it kind of changed the way sports radio is done in not only Philly, but probably nationwide. But he had his bits and recurring guests, Joe Conklin, and different things like that. So to his credit, I think he really changed what sports talk radio is. Again, for better or for worse, I for one, listen to 94 WIP all the time. And it's funny because I complain about the hosts, I complain about the callers all the time. yet they sucked me in and I listened to it. So a lot of that is credited to Angelo Cataldi for really just changing the way we look at sports talk radio. He also hosted the Great Sports Debate on Prism. I did not have Prism as a kid, so I never got to read this. However, I believe he has 2 books, The Great Sports Debate that he wrote with Glenn Macnow, that I have right on my shelf over there that I've read. Both of them are great books to read. Obviously, can't mention Angelo Cataldi without mentioning the Wing Bowl, which was just a huge event in debauchery. A lot of fun times in the couple that I went to, but it can't, like I said, can't mention it. He said he's sick of the Eagles losing and not having anything to celebrate in February. So, to his credit, continued Wing Bowl until the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017. He is responsible, like I said, for taking the Dirty 30 up to New York to boo Donovan McNabb. Was not a big fan of that. Still am not. I do know, to Angelo's credit, again, he has apologized to Donovan for that and acknowledged that Donovan was the right pick. It was not Ricky Williams was not who the Eagles should have taken, and thankfully for the Eagles, they stuck to their guns there. But like I said, that was really what turned me off a little bit to Angelo. And again, he, for better or for worse, we're sitting here talking about it. What he's done for Philly Sports Talk Radio is undeniable. He's in the Broadcast Pioneers Hall of Fame, the WIP Hall of Fame. He's won numerous other awards throughout his career, both for journalism as well as being on the radio. And on November 7th, he will take his spot with the other greats in Philly sports history at the 2024 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. So today's spotlight is on Angelo Cataldi, the legacy of excellent recipient for this year. Again, whether you liked him or you hated him, what he did for Philly sports is undeniable, and he will take his spot in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame along with the other all-time greats. On this day in 1911, the A's beat the Giants 13-2 to win their second consecutive World Series championship. To this day, as sad as that is, the A's still have the most championships in Philadelphia for professional sports. We'll have more on the Eagles tomorrow, including the 3 keys, as well as our prediction. We're 3-3. Can we get into a winning record and actually have won some money on the Eagles this year? But I will have the 3 keys and break that down. Flyers today in the Wells Fargo Center against Minnesota. Sixers traveling to Indiana. Hopefully they figure out how to rebound and shoot on the way there. Be sure to answer the question of the day. Who needs to step up more, the Eagles defense or Jalen Hurts tomorrow? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. You can find me on all my social media and comment there as well. And then let me know your thoughts on the acceptable loss. Again, if I'm starting to become that old curmudgeon who's yelling at the clouds and telling the kids, get off my yard, let me know. But to say any loss is acceptable is just, to me, unacceptable. But let me know your thoughts on that. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for October 26, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Saturday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.